2, 1. Let's go. Welcome to the Fiction Addiction Podcast, a podcast where we go one-on-one with fiction creators, such as authors, filmmakers, actors, songwriters, and more. Each episode, we get the inside scoop on our guests' creative process, the ups and downs of their industries, and our guests also give out tips and tricks that help them become successful. And now, let's jump into the episode with your host, Chris C.L. Lowry.
All right. My next guest is a proud wife, a mother of 2 boys and 3 stepchildren, and she is also a grandmother. She worked as a patient service representative for 15 years until she had to stop working to take care of her youngest son who has autism. While on her journey of motherhood, she decided that autism would not be a problem in her life, so she made it her purpose. She wrote the children's book, Jay Just Wants to Play, which is based off an experience her son had. From that experience, she went on to publish the book and also start an autism family support group called Autism R.E.C, Resources, Encouragement, and Coping. And she is also from my city, Philly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jamila Tucker-Mulero with us. Thank you for joining us, Jamila. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start with your journey as a mother. How has that experience been, especially with a house full of children?
It's been rough, but through the grace of God, I've been making it with my village, which is my mother and my sister and also my husband. And my brother, I can't forget him. They have been a big support. My first child is not by my husband. And his father wasn't around too much. So it's been a journey, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
All right, so how has your experience been as a grandmother?
It's been exciting. It's good to have him over, but also send him back home to his mother. But it's been a wonderful experience.
All right. So what were the emotions like when you first found out you were going to be like your grandmother?
Excited, nervous at the same time. My stepdaughter, she went through some trials and tribulations in her life. Recently she was just on Dr. Oz telling her story about her being abducted in 2014. So after that abduction and knowing that she was still, facing some issues and having some trials and tribulations in her life after going through what she went through, it was kind of nervous for me as well as for her and her father as well. But she's a wonderful mother. And again, it's just been a wonderful journey to see him grow and to see her grow into motherhood.
Right. So you spent 15 years as a patient service rep.
Yes.
And then you had to stop working, obviously, to take care of your youngest son who has autism. How difficult was that time for you?
Very difficult. I stopped working because with my son having autism, he at times tried to hurt himself and tried to hurt other people. And me being used to working, having a 2-income household, we went from 2 incomes to 1 income. So that was tough, but I knew in my heart that I had to do what I had to do for my son. And God put me in a position for a reason. So with that, again, it was a struggle. We had our ups and downs. There was times when lights got turned off and, had to go to family and reach out to family for help. But again, my village, they stepped up and they helped me. So it was rough at first, but I knew what I had to do for my son. I was there always for my patients, for my doctors, and God was just telling me it's time for you to be there for your family.
Right. So did you know much about autism before your son was born?
No, I didn't. I had a cousin, a younger cousin who was diagnosed with autism, but I wasn't around him or his mother that much to actually know much about it or to see what they were going through. So it was all new to me, and it was like the most hurting thing that I would say I went through, besides my stepdaughter being abducted. But just the doctors telling us that, your son has autism. They didn't give us any type of resources. They didn't tell us what the next steps was. So I had to do my own research and find everything out on my own, which is one of the reasons why I started Autism R.E.C, to help other families to not go through what I went through, with the doctors just saying, hey, your son has autism, here's a referral. So it it changed me and made me a better person, and just made me focus on doing what I had to do for my son.
Yeah, definitely. But so what was the referral for? So what, like the doctors, like what was their
the referral was for him to go into an autism center where he would get more support, for me to get an evaluation from a psychiatrist to see how depth his autism was, if he was on the low spectrum or the high spectrum of autism. So my son is on the low spectrum of autism. He needs our assistance with most of what he has to do throughout life. He's 10 years old now. He was diagnosed when he was 2. And he started talking and saying full sentences at the age of 8. He didn't start going to the bathroom on his own till age 7. So it was tough, and it's like every day you learn something new about autism. It's just a up and down roller coaster at times.
Right. So what motivated you to take control of your life in regards to turning the tables on autism and finding your purpose?
I just got tired of being depressed. I got tired of not knowing what to do. So I just said, I have to step up as a mother, and not only as a mother, but as an autism mother now. And I just did my research on ways to help him cope with his meltdowns and his tantrums and his outbursts, and him hurting himself or trying to hurt other people. I went to the library and got me a library card and started reading. And then after a while, once I got the hang of it and was able to cope with it, I said, well, maybe this is my purpose. Maybe this is why God brought this into my life, not just to help myself and my son, but to help other people. Um, so, and I just didn't want to be feeling like a victim, or feeling like, why me? And
Right.
I just wanted to feel like, why not me? So I just wanted to change the way I looked at everything.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So for parents out there that don't understand, what is the difference between raising a child with autism and raising a child that doesn't have autism?
Um, Raising a child with autism, they can't tell you their wants and their needs. They can't tell you um what's hurting. They can't speak for themselves, so you're like their voice. They don't understand danger. They don't understand when they're in harm. They take pain better than any other normal child or normal adult. They can deal with it. So, and with my oldest son, I never had to worry about him wandering off. I never had to worry about him being uncomfortable around family, or just basically going out to the supermarket. So It's a lot different, and you just gotta have patience. And again, I'm a person that grew up in the church, so I believe in faith. I believe in God. So you just got to put your trust and your faith in God. He wouldn't have put this on you if you couldn't handle it. You just got to have patience. It takes a lot of patience.
I think you just answered my next question. So, for parents out there who have autistic children, what advice would you give them?
Just to step back for a minute, take a deep breath. It's not the end of the world. It's not a death sentence. Your child can be successful. Your child can basically, I don't want to say have a normal life, but somewhat of a normal life with your help and your support. Anything is possible.
So tell me more about Autism R.E.C, the support group you started.
So I started Autism R.E.C 2 years ago, around the same time I started with the book. My son, at first he was not sociable. He stayed to himself. But once he turned like 7 or 8, he wanted to, be around other kids. He wanted to play with other kids. But with him having autism, the normal kids didn't understand him or didn't want to play with him because maybe he didn't play with the basketball the right way, or he didn't know how to play catch with the football. So normal kids didn't want to be around him. So I just went on Facebook and found a couple of autism support groups, reached out to a couple of parents and said, can we get together for a play date? And from there, that's how Autism R.E.C started. I just had a little get together that turned into like a big party because a lot of parents and a lot of kids showed up, and that just made me see that it was needed. So from there, I tried to do events at least once a month. We have Halloween parties. We have back to school parties where we give the parents book bags and school supplies, which is it's not much, but it's one less thing that a parent has to worry about. And a lot of parents don't like taking their kids out in public because of the meltdowns and because of the stares and the, negative people that's out there that may say things about your child in the way that they're behaving. So I just tried to make that one less thing that a parent had to worry about. We also do the turkey basket giveaways around Thanksgiving, and we try to do a Christmas party where we, at the Thanksgiving event, we'll have the kids make their Christmas list or wish list, and we'll take each item or something off of their list and give it to the kids once they come back for the Christmas party.
So why was it important for you to start this type of support group?
Because I didn't have it for myself. I wanted other parents to get together, like a meet and greet, and know that you're not alone. You have other parents that's going through the same thing you're going through. My son is 10, so if somebody that's coming into the group whose child just got diagnosed at 2 or 3, we can be that support and help them along the way. Then you have younger teenagers that's having kids and they don't know, how to even begin to be a parent, let alone getting a diagnosis that your child now has autism. So I just wanted to be that support for another parent and be that support for another child and bring the kids together so they can have somebody to play with and maybe even find a forever friend within the group.
So how beneficial has the group been to your son?
It's been very beneficial. He had his first sleepover this summer. He's made friends. He's played with other kids. He found kids that likes the same thing that he likes, and when we get together, he runs to that child that he saw at the last event, and they sitting down, and they may not be holding a conversation, but they're doing their thing, whatever they like to do. For if it's playing with blades, and or whether it's just you know acting like they're Dragon Ball Z or Super Mario and Luigi. They're just together doing their thing.
Now, in today's society, do you believe there's enough autism awareness?
I would say yes and no. I would say yes because there's a lot more organizations that's doing the sensory rooms or that's making it autism friendly for kids. Um, and I would say no because you have grown adults that give you the look because your son is having a meltdown, not knowing that he's having a meltdown because there's maybe too much noise and he's not comfortable with all the noise that's going around, or the lighting is making it difficult. So they have sensory issues along with having autism. So that's why I would say yes and no. There are programs where they have cops coming out and the cops is getting familiar, but um, being a black mother and having a black son and my child doesn't communicate too well, like I worry that, okay, if he's shaking his hands because he shake his hands when he's nervous, or would a cop then, pull his gun out and things like that. So that's why I would say yes and no.
Yeah, and I saw some of that stuff online where they have the seatbelts, I guess the seatbelt covers that go across that says my child has autism. He's not going to respond. He's not going to respond to orders and things like that. Yeah. I think that's needed. That's definitely needed.
Yeah.
Just so, like you said, so you have these children that have these reactions, like somebody that is a police officer doesn't overreact, you know what I mean? And take it too far, not knowing how to deal with somebody with autism. How has your organization, your support group, have you guys worked with the local police departments to bridge that gap to help?
Not as of yet, but there are different organizations out there that have worked with the police, but we haven't worked with them yet. One of the reasons why is because we're not nonprofit as of yet, so that's like the first thing they ask me when I call and ask them to come out. Well, are you nonprofit and what is your group about? But I've never had a cop actually come out to see or to talk to other parents to, see their worries, their concerns about their kids.
Which is crazy because it shouldn't really matter. You know what I mean? If you like, you pay taxes, you're a citizen, you have a concern for your child, your family, other children, the neighborhood. So like, that's crazy that the department, like that's their focus. Like, you know what I mean? Are you nonprofit? It shouldn't matter. Like, you're a taxpaying citizen, with a concern that should be addressed by them. You know what I mean? So that's definitely something to push forward. And still getting that you still getting your voice heard, still getting your organization heard, because I don't think that shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? That shouldn't be their focus on who they work with and who they don't work with.
Right.
How about resources for parents and children? Are there enough resources out there? Especially, I know sometimes it also matters what city you're in. So how about Philly? Like, how are the resources in Philly for parents of children with autism and autistic children as well?
The resources is good. I would say. It's better than some other cities. What I don't like is some of the support groups or some of the inclusion groups that they have. They cut you off after a certain age, or the services that you get, they cut your child off after a certain age. So since my son is 10, he's not able to do like the autism gym because they stop at age 7. Or he's not able to go to Smith Playground for their sensory day because they also stop at age 7. So that was another reason why I decided to start my group, because I don't want it to be an age limit, because yeah, my son is 10, but my son has the mind of a 5-year-old. So he shouldn't be excluded because of his age.
Right.
He should be included because it's supposed to be autism friendly, and he has autism, so it shouldn't be cut off at a certain age.
So I also saw online on your social media that you assist like the teachers in developing classroom curriculum geared towards autistic children.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that experience, and why do you think that's important for the teachers to be educated as well?
I think it's important because a lot of these teachers, they don't get training on how to communicate with the autism child. Or in the Philadelphia school district, you have so many kids to one teacher that she's not able to focus on that child that may need her attention the most, or that's not communicating. And when that child feel like he's not being heard, that's when they start to wander off. Then you get parents that's on social media that, they want to, I guess, vent and explode on social media about what their teachers are not doing. But how about you as a parent step up and help the teachers? Let the teachers know what your child is comfortable with or what your child can and cannot do, instead of just biting them in the back and talking dirty about them. Like, I just, I just don't get it. It takes a village to raise these kids, and
Right.
not just the autism kids. It takes a village to raise kids, period.
Period.
So, come together instead of, separating and saying, oh, she gonna hear my mouth tomorrow. No, find out what you can do to help. Find out what it is that made your son have a bad report for that day. And once you find that out, maybe you can talk to the teacher or do other things to help it so that his days is better throughout the rest of the school year.
Yeah, that's definitely important. So is that something you can do through your organization, your group? Like, can schools reach out to you
Yeah.
through the group to get that type of curriculum put into their classroom?
Yeah.
That's dope. That's definitely dope.
I also give it to the parents. Again, my son, he just started talking. He started saying like 1 or 2 words at age 7. He started saying maybe a complete sentence at age 8, but we still can't have that back and forth conversation.
Right.
So we use the picture exchange system when he wasn't talking. So if your son wants something, but you don't know what he wants, if he see it on a picture, he can give you that picture and let you know, this is what I want. So I also is available to the parents, is available to teachers, daycares. I want to, if I can help one person, I feel like I did my job.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like I completed a great mission.
So once he was born, at what age or around what time did you realize there was something going on with his development?
So when he was born 4 months early. So he weighed 1 pound, 6 ounces when he was born. They didn't expect him to make it overnight. Even when he made it overnight, they didn't expect him to make it past a week. So when he did make it past a week, they set us down, and me and my husband set us down and talked to us to let us know that he probably will have some developmental delays. So once he stayed in the hospital, he was born March 17th. He stayed in the hospital till after Father's Day. So he stayed in the hospital for about 3 months. After he was released from the hospital, we had therapists and things come out to the house to help him with his development. And I would say at one, like he wasn't saying, he would say hi, he would say bye, but about like 1.5, 2 years old, he stopped saying anything. And he never gave us any type of eye contact. And with him being born premature, he had to follow up with the special babies clinic at Children's Hospital. And they were watching him and watching his development. And they actually told me that he had autism, and he was diagnosed at age 2.
Wow.
With autism.
So how was that? How was getting that news? I know you knew officially. You got the news early on when he was born that it was the possibility, but when he turned 2 and you actually got the news, how was that in dealing with that, and where was your starting point for all the parents that are listening that are around this time where you were? Where was the starting point of getting yourself, your family on the right track?
So when I first got the diagnosis, I felt like my world just stopped. I felt like that was a death sentence for my son. Again, not only because he's Black and he's a boy, but because now he doesn't have a voice and he has a disability. So how would the world treat him? So I would say I went through a depressive stage. But then I stopped myself and I had a talk with myself and said that it's not the end of the world. So that's when I Googled autism to find out what autism was about. I went to the library, and at 30 years old, I'm getting a library card. At 30, trying to figure out, okay, let me read some books and find out what's wrong with my son. How can I help my son? What does he need to not just be successful, but to succeed and to make it and to not be judged? So I did my own research because I wasn't getting anywhere with the doctor's offices. And at that time they wasn't accepting private insurance for treatment. You had to be on the welfare insurance in order to get it treatment, or in order for my son to go to the Center for Autism that's on Ford Road. So I felt like every time I was getting a step ahead or getting the information that I needed,
right,
I felt like I was being pushed back even more because I have private insurance with my husband's job, so he can't get into the autism center because they don't accept our insurance. So then my job at the time, which was ankle and foot, they heard about me not being able to get my child in the Center for Autism. So they wrote a check for the Center for Autism for my son to get treatment. But then to find out the check wasn't going to cover the full treatment. It was only going to cover maybe about 2 or 3 days of treatment. when my son needed treatment
right.
just about every day, at least 3 to 4 times out the week. So it was like, I, again, I got to step ahead because my job is going to pay for it. But then they pushed it back because it's not enough to cover all of the treatment that he needed. So then I was told to go down Social Security and apply for Social Security. But when I applied for Social Security, they said, "Oh, you make too much money." So went down to I was told again to go to the welfare office to apply for their insurance. Then they said, "Oh, again, you make too much money,"
Right.
and his father's job offers health insurance.
Yeah.
So then I had to go back and do more research to find out, since my son has this diagnosis, he's able to get insurance with or without my income being recorded.
Oh,
So,
really?
yes, and that's another thing that a lot of parents don't know. It's actually a law, is PH 29, that states that your child is able to get health insurance and it's not based on the income. So once I found that out, I went back down to the welfare office, told them about what I know. And when you go in there talking like you got some sense and like you know and you
They
done
change up
educated
on
yourself,
it.
yeah, they change up real quick. So he was able to get the insurance that he needed, and he was able to start the Center for Autism. So he went there for about a year until he was, you know, too old to continue to attend there. So we was fighting to get this insurance and get these benefits for about a year and a half. And then when we get him in there, he's only able to stay there for a year.
For a year. That's crazy.
So again, I had to go back to Google and go back to the books and read some more and find out how can I get my son some other services. So it's been a journey, but again, I wouldn't change it for the world because it's made me a better person. It made me educate myself. It's helping me to educate other parents.
Right.
So that's why I said it takes time and it takes patience. And I don't recommend anybody doing this alone. And that's why I again offer my services. Because when you do it alone and you by yourself, it's very hard and it's very stressful. It's very overwhelming. You feel like you don't have no time for yourself or for your other kids. So it played a big toll on my whole entire family, even my husband. He was blaming himself. Um, he he left for a minute because he said he couldn't handle it, but again, with prayers and the grace of God, he came back, and we going through this together.
Right. As y'all should. You know what I mean? It's important to have that support and be together to deal with family issues. You know what I mean? You need family. You need that family support. So your writing journey, when did your writing journey begin?
I would say I always wanted to write, and I've always wanted to write a children's story. So with the incident, again, the book is based on a true event that happened. My son was outside playing. He wanted to play with the other kids, but at first they wasn't paying him no mind, and then he went out again and wanted to play again, and one little boy played with him for a little bit, but once his friends came, he left my son, and my son was sad. So I took that and just wanted to write a story about it because maybe I can help a normal child see a child with a disability in a different way. Maybe they'll have some empathy, and maybe they'll have a little bit of understanding about how kids feel with a disability when you turn them down, or you making fun of them because they have a disability, or because they not talking the way that you talk. So that's what made me want to put it out there and not just to give awareness to parents, but to give awareness for these kids, because some of these kids can be bullies. And maybe if, if it's a story that'll show them that this child was sad because you didn't want to throw him the basketball, or this child was sad because he had no friends. Maybe you can be a friend to that child who has no friends, regardless of his disability.
Yeah, definitely. In the book, your children's book, Jay Just Wants to Play, it is, and it not only has a positive message in it about the friendship and how important it was and how important it is to make friends and to treat other children with respect, but it also explained the specific characteristics your son displays when he's playing.
Right.
So I think that was important to put into the book. Like you said, other children reading this will now get some type of understanding of, okay, just because someone's doing something different than me, that doesn't mean that they're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned with the basketball, if they don't play the basketball the same way, you know what I mean? They don't throw the football the same way. That doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. That's just the way they play. You know what I mean?
Right.
So so that moment, when, because it's a touching moment in that story when you actually read it and see the incident and how it played out in the beginning. Obviously it took a very positive turn afterwards, but how was that moment for you as a parent and seeing your son go through that?
It hurt. It was like he was sad, so that made me sad. And then it just made me look at it like, is he going to go through this for the rest of his life? Will he ever have friends? Um, will he ever have that someone that that'll come knock on the door and say, hey, can he come outside and play?
Mm-hmm.
Will he have the same childhood that I have? It just, it was a hurting feeling. So, and to see my son sad and crying because the kids didn't want to play with him, it hurt. And it was also, like I said, before he would play by himself and didn't want to be around other kids. So to see him actually try to reach out to play with a child, it brought joy to my heart, but then it hurt my heart when they rejected him. So, and then when the little boy, I guess because he was out there playing by himself, he felt like, okay, well, let me play with this little boy until my friends get here. So even though he played with him for about like 5 or 10 minutes, that just warmed my heart because my son was happy and it put a smile on his face, and I got to see him play with other kids.
Right.
So it was like, okay, now I maybe have to take it a step further, and that's why I did the support group and reached out to other parents on Facebook.
So did those other kids end up ever getting a copy of the book to see that scenario and just to see your son's perspective on playing?
Yes, they did.
And how was I guess through the parents and all that, how was the feedback from that? Did it change? What was the impact it had on not only them, but as well as the interactions in the future interactions between them and your son?
It changed because again, now when they see my son outside, they'll play with my son. They'll, knock on my door and say, "Can he come out?" So it changed a whole lot. It made a big difference. A few of the kids still wouldn't play with him, but for the most part, it changed a lot, and it made me happy to see the change.
So how did you know it was the right time to drop the story? So like when was that moment that you knew like, okay, this is the incident I want to focus on, and now is the time that the story's ready to share with the world?
Again, because I saw my son wanting to just play with other kids, and the kids that they was rejecting him, or when he was outside and they were outside, he still was pretty much by himself because they didn't want to play with him because he didn't understand what they were saying, and they didn't understand what he was saying. So it it just made me feel like something has to change, and maybe I should just let this book out and just see if how it's accepted. Because I held on for the book for 2 years
Oh,
before
wow.
I actually released it.
And why was
Because
that?
I didn't know if somebody really cared, or if my story was important to somebody else. And then, people can be cruel. People can be evil. So I just felt like they would just say, okay, well, that's their problem, not mine. So that's why I just held on to it. And I was inspired by another author who had the same illustrator that I had. She released her book, and I just said, you know what, maybe it's time for me to release my book and not just give the parents some understanding, but to give the kids some understanding, because it was some mean adults that lived on my block as well. Hollering at my son, telling my son get off their grass and stop leaning on their car, and not understanding that you hollering at him, but he really don't understand
Right, what
what
you're
you're
saying.
saying.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So your
So I
illustrator,
just felt like it was time.
time to drop it.
Yeah.
So your illustrator is Reggie Byers.
Yeah.
How did y'all link up?
So LaVon McMillan, she's also an author, and she came to one of my events because she was a special instructor and she worked with special needs kids. So she wanted to donate to what I was doing. So when she came out, um, we connected from there, and we've been friends for the last 2 years. So again, when she released her book in January of 2019, I reached out to her and asked her about her illustrator. And then I really didn't have the funds to pay for an illustrator because some of the prices was outrageous.
Oh, yeah.
So I reached out to her once I saw her book was being released and asked her if she minds sharing her illustrator information where I can contact him and get his pricing and everything. So I reached out. She gave me the information, the contact information. I reached out to him. His prices was reasonable, but I still, again, with me being out of work, I had to make it work so I wasn't taken away from my family, and I was still able to, pay him for his illustration. So his illustration was at a reasonable price. So I just had him do the illustrations, and then I was trying to get a publisher, but those prices for a publisher was also outrageous, and um, the my percentage wasn't that much. So I said, well, let me look into self-publishing, and that's when I looked into self-publishing. So I did everything on my own, and Reggie did the illustrations. Everything else was all me. I didn't pay for an editor. Um, I self-published with Barnes and Nobles, and I self-published with Amazon. So that's how it's now out there.
So, because obviously this is a story about your son, is a story that's close to you, that's dear to your heart. How did you know, or did you even know how the illustration would turn out, if they would be the way you wanted them. Did you have an idea of how you wanted them?
I just knew that I wanted Jay to look like my son. My son's name is actually Jasir. But I was trying to get the title to rhyme a little bit. So that's why I said Jay just wants to play. But I knew I wanted Jay to look like my son. And when he showed me the first like 2 or 3 illustrations, I said, "Oh yeah, this is what I want. This is exactly what I want." So, he knew what I wanted without me even saying what I wanted. I sent him a copy of the manuscript, and he took it from there. Like, he was outstanding. Like, everything was on point. He did great work, and I may have been like the, I was worried, and like this was another baby that I was having, so I wanted everything to be right, and I wanted to be, come out at the right time. So, I was like kind of like on his back, and like, is it ready? Are you done yet? And can I see more? And I just had to, take a step back and say, okay, this takes time. And I wanted to be perfect. And Levine had to tell me also, like, you don't want to rush them.
Right.
So I just waited patiently, and the end result was outstanding.
Right.
And I actually released the book on my mom's birthday. My family didn't know about the book. They didn't know when it was going to be released. They didn't know when it was going to be available. I just kept it a secret until everything was finished and finalized.
And why was that? Why you keep it a secret?
Because you sometimes have people that throw them negative thoughts out there, like, oh, maybe it's not going to be successful, or so I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to keep it moving. I wanted to wait. I wanted everybody to wait. And sometimes when you tell people about things, they don't. I'm not saying that my family does this, but some people don't pray for your success. They pray for your downfall. So I just wanted to keep it to myself and released it to the right people at the right time. And my mom was the first one that knew about it. Like, my husband didn't know. It was my mom and my stepdaughter. They were the first 2 that knew about the book and that the illustrations is getting started.
Now, was she surprised that you dropped it on her birthday?
Yes.
What was her reaction?
She smiled. She was happy. Looked like she wanted to cry a little bit. But I wanted to release it on her birthday because sometimes you feel like you may have let your parents down, or you didn't go the path that they wanted you to go. So this was something that I wanted my mom to be proud about. So that was one of the reasons why I released it on her birthday. And my mom has always, always, always been a great support for me. Even when I was wrong, sometimes you can't, your parents don't see no wrong. And I'm my mom's youngest child, so I'm like her baby.
Right.
And she's very overprotective of me. So that's why I wanted it to be released on her birthday, to feel like, this was not just for me, but it was a gift to you, to show you that, you raised me right, even though you was a single mom, and, it was hard at times, and I may have got on your nerves, but I'm heading on the right path. Wasn't always, the perfect angel, so I just wanted her to see that I was, doing something right.
Definitely. So, Jay wants to play. Is this going to be just a standalone book, or can we expect a series for the Jay character? What should we expect?
So I'm I'm wanting it to be a series. I have already started on the second book. It's just the illustrations now. Reggie, he stopped doing other people's work, and he's now doing his own work and making his own, doing a book for himself. And he's also doing other projects for churches and stuff because he is a member of E9.
Okay.
So he does a lot of work for E9, and he does like murals and stuff like that. So he stopped doing the work for um other people and is now focused on his work. So I'm hoping that, he'll come back and continue my character, or I can either find somebody that can maybe work the same style and, make Jay look the same in each and every book, because I have one book that's complete, just need illustrations, and then I have a third book that's halfway complete.
Nice. Can you see yourself writing books about other topics, even for parents? Like, see yourself writing a book that can help parents as well? You know what I mean? Different genres and things like that.
Yes. And I've also started that as well. And it's basically like a book, just telling them that, what I went through as far as the first diagnosis and for the first 8 years. So my son was diagnosed at 2 and now he's 10. So that book will be about, just not giving up and the steps you can take, and not forgetting about yourself and not forgetting about the other kids that you may have, the older kids that you may have that may feel left out, or that may feel like, oh, he's getting all your attention and now I'm not getting any attention. So that's another book that I'm also working on.
So tell me about the moment when you showed Jay his book that had him in it.
I didn't think that he would know, but when he looked at the book, he said, "That's me."
Oh, wow.
So he didn't see any of the illustrations. He didn't see anything until it was actually in book form, and we got the first shipment that came in the mail, and we opened it up, and that was his reaction. "That's me." So he read the book with me. We still read the book at times. He reads the book with his therapist, because he has therapists that come out to the house. So he's read the book with them, and he just tells everybody, "That's me." So he's pretty excited, and then to see his face on the book and to see his face on his shirt, he was pretty happy.
Mm-hmm. So how was that feeling for you, not only as a mother but as an author as well?
It made me happy. It for him to know that that was him, and he has a book out there for just him. Um, the book is also in Hakeem's bookstore on 52nd Street. So for him to know and to see him and his book on a shelf, made me happy. It was kind of overwhelming a little bit, but I was happy that he was happy.
So I did notice that. I did notice that you got your book into a few local bookstores. How was that process of approaching them, or did they approach you? How was that process of getting the books in there?
So the 2 bookstores that is in, well, 3 is, one on South, it's 4 actually, one recently, on South Street, 4th and South. I reached out to them. The one that's in, my book is also in a bookstore in Hampton, Virginia, and we just actually closed that deal on my birthday, December 31st. They reached out to me. But to the ones here in Philadelphia, I reached out to them. I sent them emails. I followed up with the emails. Um, I went to the stores and gave them a copy of the book so they can actually see what the book was about, not just um, having a picture of the cover and the back cover. I went there so they can actually physically hold the book in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
I shared with them that it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble. So once they seen it was on Amazon, because that's where they went first. Once they seen that it was on Amazon, they saw the reviews that it was getting on Amazon. They said that they would love to have the book in the store. And the one on South Street, which is called Wooden Shoe Bookstore, they actually have a disability section
Oh,
in
wow.
their bookstore. So they wanted the book in their store. So again, I just did the finger work with sending emails, and then once I sent the emails, I followed up with doing the footwork and visiting these stores and going out and talking to the managers. The one that's in Hampton, Virginia, she actually reached out to me through Facebook and um, asked would I be willing to do wholesale, and I said absolutely. And once I did that, we signed the contract and closed the deal, and now the book is also in Virginia, and
Nice.
I'm hoping to get it, you know, all over.
So why do you think it's important for local bookstores to support local authors and vice versa?
Um, I feel like the kids don't pick up a book and read anymore. Everything is social media or YouTube or just video games. Um, so if I felt like if the book was actually inside of a bookstore, the kids would maybe go in the bookstore with their parents and they'll see the book and they'll want the book. Um, Hakeem, that's a black-owned bookstore, so I feel like we should support each other. Um, there's not a lot of black businesses out here, and the ones that are out here sometimes get overlooked. So, and that I would say that bookstore has been overlooked for many a years because
Mm.
me myself, I'm guilty of overlooking that bookstore. I didn't realize how many books and how many people or self-publishers that they served in that bookstore until I actually went in there to try to get my book in there. So I feel like it's very important, and maybe we need to bring, the reading to our kids back like our parents used to do with us when we was growing up. Sometimes you had to read for about 20 minutes before you can go outside and play, or read for 20 minutes before you can get on a video game. So I feel like maybe our parents and the parents today should start doing that again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's definitely needed. It's a big difference. It makes a big difference. Uh,
Yeah.
Encouraging children to read. So I saw that you did the Chew and Chat event, which was an event where you network with other children book authors from our area. How did that event go?
It was nice. It was to know that there's a community out there that's willing to help you succeed and to get ahead and to help you with marketing and um to let you know where you may have errors at or where you may have fell short at. It was a blessing. Just to see that, like, sisters and brothers supporting each other, and it's not about, oh, you gotta pay me for my services, or um I need to get paid for my information. It was just other authors sharing freely. Like, I had reached out to libraries to see if I can do a story time with the libraries. And one of the libraries out in the county asked me what was my fee. So me being a new author, it was like, okay. I didn't know that I can give you my fee. So it was like, let me get back with you on that. So there was Devon Clark, who's also an author. He actually told me, like, don't ever do that again. Like, you ask them what's their budget. So I never knew that, the libraries even had a budget, or that they pay these authors to come out and read to the kids.
Right.
So it was very helpful. And um, to meet other authors and to see, their process, and to talk to authors that went with a publisher versus authors that self-published. Um, it was very helpful and very informational.
So you also attend like book expos and book festivals. How are those experiences attending those?
Again, it's great to see people of color wanting to write books and to do more, and sharing their stories. Like one of the authors was, sharing their story about being molested as a child, and it was just like it was encouraging to see it, and um, it was just it was nice to see again people of color, instead of seeing, you know, other people, the white people. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but you know, they always, get acknowledgement, and always see their books, but you don't see a lot of people of color. And I can actually get a book that my son can say, "Oh, they look like me.
Right.
They're the same color as me." So it was nice to be a part of that, and um to see a lot of other African American authors.
So what tips would you give someone that has a unique story like you and that is interested in the idea of writing and publishing that story? Like what would be your tip to that person?
Um, if you feel like it's a story that needs to be told, put it out there. Um, don't wait. You never know. You may feel like it's not needed or it's not wanted, but somebody else may feel like this book has helped me out a lot, or this book has changed me to be a better person, or to look at the world differently. So I would say, put it out there. Don't doubt yourself. It's in your heart and in your mind for a reason. So get it out there. Don't give up on, if it's a dream that you have, don't give up on your dream. Don't let nobody talk you out of fulfilling your dream. Um and again, if you can help, you may not be able to change the world, but if you can change one person, then that's a start.
And what's next for Jamila, the author?
I want to continue to write. I want to continue to help families, and hopefully I want to one day open up a little rec center that's for autism kids, um, where they can come and play all day, and there's no judgment, nobody pointing, nobody making snooty comments about your mom, your dad, or the way that you're playing, and just a place where they can run and feel free, and a place that they can call their own with no age limits, and continue to write, continue to share my story, continue to help other parents.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, that'd definitely be good, especially in the city. And it'd be real important to have that, like you said, the area where you don't get judged.
Yep. And there's not much in the urban community um, for kids with autism. Everything that they do have for kids with autism is like in the far northeast, or is out in Montgomery County, or, you know, um, Delaware County, but it's really not too much in Delaware County for the kids. So I feel like it's needed. And I grew up in Southwest. So that's my focus and where I want to maybe open up the rec center, maybe in Southwest, to give back to my community and to give back to the people that supported me along the way.
So we about to jump into the Believe It or Not segment of the podcast, which is
okay.
You gave me 3 facts about yourself. One of those facts is not true. I had to figure out which fact is not true, and I also get 1 question for each fact to assist me in figuring out which one isn't true. So the first fact was you're married with 2 kids of your own. You have 3 bonus kids, which are your stepkids, and you have a bonus grandson. The second fact is your first time doing a speaking engagement to autism families. You didn't realize how many people you would be speaking to. And once you saw the crowd of people, you got nervous and walked out. And the third fact is that you broke your tibia and fibula in the Poconos skating with your kids, and your older son fell on you. You tried to catch him. And you're 5'2" and he's 5'7", and he played high school football, defensive end. Damn. They all sound like they could be true. They all sound like they can be true. So number 1, you mentioned, I just don't know these numbers. I know you mentioned you had stepkids, but I don't know the numbers. Can you name them? Name all the kids.
Carlicia is my oldest stepdaughter. Antoine is my oldest stepson. And then it's Jaquan, who's my stepson. And Jameer, who is my son. And Jasir. And then I have my grandson, who just turned 3.
Okay. So the speaking engagement, where was the speaking engagement at?
It was at a school in South Philly.
You broke your tibia and fibula in the Poconos. What year was that?
2015.
I'm gonna go with, because you named all the kids, like you didn't even hesitate. So I'm gonna go. So that's true. I'm gonna go with number 1's true. I'm gonna go with number 3 is a lie. I'm gonna say you didn't break your tibia and fibula.
No.
Number 2
was a lie. I did a speaking engagement, but I didn't walk
out. So when was that? When was the speaking engagement?
That was September 10th.
Oh, last year. Damn, yep. How was that? Like, how was that speaking to the family?
I was nervous because, again, it was my first time speaking to a school and to autism families. I didn't know, what to expect, how they were going to take me, this girl, like, what can she tell us? So it was a preschool, and their kids was recently diagnosed. So it was about 20 to 30 parents, plus the teachers and the staff at the school. So I was nervous going. I was, I didn't know what kind of questions they was going to ask me, but I just felt like I was called there for a reason. So even though I was nervous, I didn't want my nerves to get the best of me, and I felt like they needed the information that I had to share.
And so breaking to the Poconos and you broke your fibula, what the heck happened?
My son my 18-year-old, he's 18 now. He was on skates for the first time, and I seen him getting ready to fall, so I went over there and I tried to break his fall. And we both end up falling, and my foot went backwards, and I had a spiral break in my tibia and my.
You had to get a cast and all that for that?
Yeah, wow. I had to get surgery, so I have screws and plates in my right ankle. Yeah. Mama Bear was trying to save Baby Bear. But Baby Bear was bigger than Mama Bear.
That's crazy. Well, yes. So for everybody out there, tell them how they can get in contact with you. Tell them where they can find the book. Tell them how to reach you. Tell them how they can reach you about Autism R.E.C.
So Autism R.E.C is on Facebook and Instagram. I do share my number. I share my email. My email is jamila@autismrec.com. And that's JAMILA @AUTISMREC.com. My phone number is 215-200-0405. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram under Jamila M1 on Instagram and Jamila Tucker-Mulero on Facebook. With Autism R.E.C, I do try to help parents as much as I can. So I get parents that call and say that they may need food for the week to last them until they get paid or until they get their food stamps. So I help other parents any way I possibly can. So if you need any help, any resources, I do have resources available. I'm connected with special needs lawyers and special needs attorneys. So if you ever need a special needs lawyer because you're not getting the services that you need for your child at school or at home, I do have those resources. So please feel free to email me, call me. If you just need someone to talk to, I'm here. No matter what time of day or what time of night it is, I'm available because I know it's not easy. And sometimes we need that person to talk us off the ledge. So I'm here. I'm available. Again, my phone number is 215-200-0405. So anytime, or you can reach me on Facebook or Instagram. If you can send me a message via Messenger, or you can DM me on Instagram. I'm here and I'm available.
All right, Jamila, we appreciate you stopping through on the Fiction Addiction podcast and sharing your amazing story with us. And we definitely will share all these links and your contact information in the description below the podcast. So thank you for your time and thank you for sharing your story with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for joining us on the Fiction Addiction Podcast. Make sure you visit fictionaddictionpodcast.com for links on everything we talked about today, as well as awesome resources, additional tips, and Fiction Addiction merchandise.